I'm 62. I have a pension. Does the 4% rule still apply to me? You've probably heard this rule so many times it feels like a law. 4%. Take out 4% a year, you'll be fine. But fine for who exactly? Here's the thing. This rule has been around since 1994. It's been repeated so often that most people treat it like a guarantee. It isn't. If you're 62 with a pension or Social Security coming, or maybe some part-time work on the side, the 4% rule may not be built for your retirement at all. Everything in this video is based on publicly available data and historical research. This is educational analysis, not personalized financial advice. Now, here's what the data actually shows. And there's one assumption baked into this rule that almost nobody talks about. We're going to get to that. It may be the most important thing in this entire video.
We're going through 5 specific reasons the rule may not fit your situation. By the end, you'll know exactly which ones apply to you. The rule sounds universal, but it was built for a very specific kind of retiree, and that retiree may not be you. So where did this rule actually come from? A researcher named William Bengen published it in 1994. That's the same year the internet became publicly accessible. Think about how different the world looked then. Bengen studied decades of historical U.S. market data. He built a model around a specific portfolio mix and a 30-year retirement window. That was the design. 30 years, one portfolio, no other income assumed. This isn't about ignoring the rule. It's about understanding what it was actually designed to do and what it was never designed to handle. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. The average American today retires at around 62 years old.
That's not 65. That's 62, which means your retirement window could be 25 years, 30 years, maybe more, beyond what the original model was built to cover. A longer runway means the math changes, not slightly, but meaningfully. You're not wrong for questioning this. Millions of people in their 50s and 60s are asking the same question right now. The rule was useful. The real question is whether it's useful for your specific situation. Now, Morningstar, one of the most widely cited names in retirement research, recently updated their recommended withdrawal rate. And it's not 4%. We'll get to that exact number right after reason 2. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a 3-question check you can run on your own situation. No spreadsheet, no advisor required. Just 3 questions. The rule has lasted 30 years, but the retirement it was built for may not look anything like yours.
So let's go back to what Bengen actually built. The model covered a specific setup, a single investment portfolio, a 30-year time horizon, withdrawals that start in year 1 and then adjust each year for inflation. That's it. That was the whole design. Here's the part that most people miss. In that model, the portfolio is doing 100% of the work. There is no Social Security income factored in. There is no pension, no part-time paycheck, nothing else. Just the portfolio. Think about that for a moment. Bengen's research was serious work, but it was solving a specific problem, and your situation may be built differently. If Social Security alone covers a meaningful portion of your monthly expenses, your portfolio doesn't have to do the same job anymore. That's not a small thing. Now, here's the second thing most people get wrong about how this rule works day by day. You take 4% of your portfolio balance in year 1. You convert that to a dollar amount, and then every year after that, you adjust that same dollar amount for inflation. You do not recalculate 4% of whatever your balance is each year. That's a common misunderstanding. That's not a flaw, that's the design. But it only makes sense if your portfolio is doing all the heavy lifting. So here is the hidden assumption nobody really talks about. The rule was written for a retiree with one income source, their portfolio. It was never designed to stack on top of a pension, or a Social Security check, or any other guaranteed income. Still with me? Good, because that hidden assumption is exactly what changes when your retirement includes income the rule never counted on. But if you have income streams, the whole calculation changes. Here's how. The rule assumes your portfolio is your only source of income in retirement. Every dollar of spending comes from that one account. But if you have Social Security, a pension, or even part-time work, your portfolio doesn't have to carry the full load anymore. Reason 1. Social Security as an income floor. According to Social Security Administration data, the average monthly benefit for a retired worker is approximately $2,071. That's over $24,000 a year coming in before you touch your portfolio. If that income is already covering a large portion of your monthly expenses, the amount your portfolio actually needs to replace is smaller. You're not drawing down against your full cost of living. You're filling the gap. The 4% rule was never designed to work that way. It was designed to cover everything. Now, here is the number I promised earlier. Morningstar published their retirement research in late 2024. Their recommended safe withdrawal rate for a standard 30-year portfolio with no outside income came in at 3.7%, lower than 4%. Not by a lot, but meaningfully lower for someone relying on a portfolio alone. However, here's the other side of that same research. For retirees whose spending naturally declines in later years, which data on retiree spending patterns suggests is a common pattern, that same analysis supports a rate as high as 4.8%. Same researcher, same methodology, a full percentage point higher based on one change in the spending assumption. That is not a rounding error. That is the difference between leaving money on the table and running out. Reason 2. Pension income. If you have a pension, you have predictable monthly income that typically arrives whether the market goes up or down.
The original 4% rule was never designed to sit on top of that. It was built for a portfolio standing alone. When you have a pension covering part of your expenses, the gap your portfolio needs to fill gets smaller, and a smaller gap means you don't need to pull as hard on your savings. Reason 3. Part-time work. According to Bureau of Labor Statistics data from 2024, 38.3% of employed Americans over the age of 65 work part-time. More than 1 in 3 people in that age group are still bringing in some income. If you're in that group, even a modest monthly paycheck changes the pressure on your portfolio. It reduces the annual withdrawal you actually need to make. We have 2 more reasons to go, and reason 5 is the one most people with a pension completely miss. The rule isn't broken. It's just built for a retiree without income streams. If you have income streams, you need a different starting point.
Let me show you what that actually looks like. Think of 2 people. Same age, both 62. Both planning to retire this year. Same question in their heads. Does the 4% rule apply to me? This is hypothetical, but it's based on public data. Call them Case A and Case B. Case A. This person has savings, good savings, but no pension, no Social Security yet, no part-time income. The portfolio is the only income source. In that situation, the 4% rule is the closest fit. And even then, Morningstar's updated research suggests the number may be closer to 3.7% for a standard 30-year window. And here's the additional pressure. The original model was built for a 65-year-old. This person is retiring at 62. According to Centers for Disease Control data, life expectancy at 65 is approximately 19.7 additional years. Starting 3 years earlier stretches that window further, beyond the 30-year frame the rule was built around. That's Case A. The portfolio works alone, and the math is already tighter than most people assume. But Case B looks completely different. Same person, same age, but this time they have Social Security coming in, at roughly the average benefit level of around $2,071 per month, and a pension that covers part of their fixed monthly costs. Now look at what changes. The portfolio no longer has to cover their full cost of living. It only fills the gap, the difference between what Social Security and the pension provide and what they actually spend each month.
That's a different job entirely, a smaller job, which means the withdrawal pressure on the portfolio is lower from day one. But there's one more piece the rule gets wrong. The spending pattern data points the same direction. Actual retiree spending tends to decline in later years, not stay flat. The 4% rule assumes flat, inflation-adjusted spending every single year for the rest of your life. That assumption can cause people to spend less than they actually could afford, especially in their early, healthier retirement years. Neither of these people did anything wrong. They just have different income setups, and the 4% rule was only ever built for case A. That brings us to reason 4. Your retirement horizon may be longer than the rule assumes.
If you retire at 62, you could be funding 25 or 30-plus years of retirement, or more. The original model was built for a 65-year-old. Retiring earlier without adjusting for the longer runway is a gap the rule doesn't cover. And reason 5. The rule treats your spending as flat. It adjusts the dollar amount for inflation each year, but it never assumes you'll spend less as you get older. The data on retiree spending points one direction, down over time, not up. If you apply the rule rigidly, you may leave more on the table than you need it to. Before applying any withdrawal rate, the first question isn't, what's the safe rate? It's safe relative to what income baseline? Those 3 questions I promised are coming, and they're built around exactly this gap. If you've spent years planning around 4%, that doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It means you are using the best tool available, a tool that millions of people rely on. A tool built by serious researchers doing serious work. But it was built for a different job than the one you may actually need done. This rule has been repeated for 30 years. It's in books, in articles, in every retirement planning conversation. Questioning it can feel disorienting. That's a reasonable reaction. The data points to something specific, and the next step is simpler than you'd expect. Here's the 3-question check I promised at the start. And this is where the video pays off. You now know why the rule may not fit. Here's what to actually look at instead. 3 questions. That's it. You can work through these on your own. No spreadsheet required. Before we get into them, a quick note. This is based on publicly available data. For decisions specific to your own situation, a licensed financial planner is the right next step. Now, here are the 3 questions.
Question 1. What is your actual income floor? One useful starting point is listing every guaranteed or likely income source you have. Social Security. The Social Security Administration has a free online estimator at ssa.gov, which is one place to get a personalized number. Pension payments, if you have them. Any part-time income you expect to continue. That total is your income floor. It's the foundation, and the 4% rule has nothing to say about it, because the original model never included it. Only after you know that number does a withdrawal rate conversation make sense. Question 2. What is your actual portfolio gap? Take your projected monthly expenses, subtract your income floor. What's left, that gap, is what your portfolio actually needs to cover. The 4% rule, or Morningstar's updated guidance, applies to that gap, not to your full cost of living. That number, most people have never actually mapped it out.
Question 3. What is your real time horizon? If you retire at 62, your portfolio may need to last 25, 30, even more years, depending on your health and family history. The original model was built for a 65-year-old with a 30-year window. That gap calculation means more when it's measured against your actual horizon, not the rule's default from 1994. But here's what the creator of this rule said just last year. William Bengen, the person who published this research, updated his own thinking as recently as 2025. According to his more recent writing, he acknowledged that the situation has changed. He never intended his work to be used as a fixed ceiling. It was a starting point. Using it as a rigid law rather than a baseline is a misreading of what the research actually says.
The 4% rule was never meant to be a ceiling. It was a research-based starting point, built on serious work for a specific kind of retiree. With a clearer picture of your income floor, your actual portfolio gap, and your real-time horizon, you're already asking better questions than most people who just apply the number and move on. You started this video asking whether the rule still applies to you.
Now you have a framework to find out. The rule didn't change. Your situation just deserves a closer look. If this breakdown was useful, there's more retirement planning analysis on this channel. Subscribe if you want to keep working through the numbers, one video at a time.